同。
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the conclusion of the Middle of the Pack Racing League Race of Champions Series for 2022, as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing. And today we go racing for the final time this season in the series that aims to answer the ultimate question: who can have the ultimate bragging rights when it comes to being the champion of champions, the best of the best across our drivers pro and AM classes, while drivers can compete in a multitude of iRacing series with Middle of the Pack Racing League over the course of 2022. Started, of course, all the way back in the early days of March, April with the Touring Car Racing at Class Championship, and then evolving onto the GT4s, and most recently going from the summer into the fall of 2022, the GT3 Championship. And well, we bring it all to a conclusion, because with round number 1 being a Radical SR8s at Watkins Glen, round number 2 being the run of what was the TCRs at Rudskogen, and now today in round number 3 we are here at Laguna Seca in Monterey County, California, United States of America, for Cadillacs in California. And our schedule for tonight in this post-round broadcast is as follows: times in Greenwich Mean Time or Universal Coordinated Time, that's GMT and UTC. In just under 8 minutes time we'll be getting underway with our qualifying session, which will be 10 minutes in length, where our drivers will take to the circuit and look to put in their best possible qualifying times, and then we'll see our drivers make their way over to what will be the grid for our one and only feature race today. 40 minutes in duration, and the whole concept behind it, of course, will be that our drivers from start to finish will be full attack with one pit stop thrown into the mix, and looking to get their best possible performance to wrap up their championship campaigns, and of course aim to take that championship title home and be the champion of champions. Well, who's it going to be? We'll find out very shortly. But before we can do that, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. Of course, this broadcast is a post-round broadcast for your viewing pleasure, so what you are seeing here today in terms of the racing actually occurred earlier this week. The race had occurred on what was Wednesday the 14th of December. We're bringing it to you live as if it were live, if you will, on this Saturday the 17th of December. That means as your host and commentator, I have not seen or heard as to what happens in the practice, the qualifying or the race sessions. I've made sure to avoid any spoilers for you, so that way you guys and girls tuning in at home get the closest possible thing to the raw live experience like you all deserve. And indeed, if you are the drivers who participated in this race, please, we do ask that you make sure you do not put any spoilers in our respective media chats, so that way it's not spoiled for those that tune in at home who do not know what exactly happens over the course of the racing action tonight. In terms of our chats, of course, this broadcast is being brought to you by 2 media platforms for your viewing pleasure. Firstly, if you are a Twitch user, you can go to twitch.tv/TX141, or if you're a YouTube user, you can go to youtube.com and search for Paul Walsh or TX141TX. Who is TX141 or Paul Walsh? Well, that is I, your host and commentator. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Brit of the Spit, depending on what media you follow me on, and I'll be bringing you all of your racing action tonight as we conclude and bring the curtain down on what has been an absolutely fantastic mini-series to cap up what has been a brilliant year for Middle of the Pack Racing League, the MPRL in 2022. We have seen the racing go to the highest possible standard so far in the history of the organisation, and it's only going to set us up for what lies in wait in 2023. And indeed, at the end of today's broadcast, we'll tell you a little bit more about what lies in wait as we make our way into a new year of racing ahead. But speaking of what lies ahead, let's look at our schedule then for this calendar. And we can see here, of course, with round number 1, all the way back on the 30th of November, it was Watkins Glen International at the Classic Boot Circuit, while drivers took to the course in the Radical SR8s. And there in the single make race, it was all about the lightweight frame from the United Kingdom and the V8 engine coming together and seeing many of our drivers go for a spin. But with spins, we saw safety cars, and indeed one safety car saw all the fields bunch up in the final 10 minutes, and there was a sprint to the finish after all the pit stops were made. And there was drama in both the Pro and the AM class. Indeed, many a surprise. And in round number 2, last time out, we went to Norway for the Rudskogen Motor Centre circuit, and now our drivers had to pick a car within the Touring Car Racing class, where it had been the Honda Civic Type R, the Hyundai Veloster N, or the Hyundai Elantra N, or the Audi RS3. But we saw at the Touring Car Racing circuit in northern portion of Europe, in Scandinavia, known for being a brilliant circuit in TCR Scandinavia, we saw plenty of batting up and down the course in the Norwegian countryside, and our winners winners there, deserved winners, and they carry that momentum into tonight. And well, we're here in California for the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, and we are racing the venerable Cadillac CTS-V machines. The 6.2 litre V8 machine producing as part of its SCCA spec. It's powering by 460 horsepower, and indeed a very tricky car to handle. That V8 engine being counterweighted with a good amount of aerodynamic adjustments. Indeed, a major rear wing to go with the car, and it's going to be all about who can get the balance on the power as soon as possible. And indeed, it is a car that's been highly decorated over its years of performance, hand raced in the Sports Car Club of America Championship, the World Challenge Series, particularly competing in the middle portion of the early 2000s, going all the way into the 2012, 2013, 2014 season, and really coming to prominence in what was 2011 onwards, with the coupe race car being built by Pratt & Miller. That's a little bit of history about the car, and before we come onto our circuit, let's just give you a quick recap of our standings going into tonight. We start off, of course, with the Pro Class, and we can see here Tanner Dibble leading the way on 95 points, only 1 point clear of Francois Schick as we make our way into this season finale. And, well, of course, in the opener, it was all about Tanner Dibble being dominant in the Radical. Last time out over at Rudskogen, it was all about Francois Schick being dominant in the touring car. And which one of the two is going to come away the winner come the end? That will be the ultimate question. It will go down to fine margins, that's we're certain of. And, of course, this combination being a middle ground between the two that we've seen previously, where Tanner Dibble seemed to go very well in the Radical, but not so good in the TCR, whereas for Francois Schick, it was another day at the office, as Francois Schick being known for being a very brilliant touring car racing class driver, indeed racing a number of touring car racing series and being highly placed, and it really played into his hands. But they'll both be going into a car tonight that favours neither of them, and therefore it's all going to come down to who can master the beast in due course. John Lauzon in P3 on 89 points, slightly out of the hunt of the top two now, but focused more on defending P3 from James Logston, with these two both picking up major points over the first two rounds, and it's going to be interesting to see which one of them is able to bring home the major points come the end of tonight and say they were the best of the rest in P3. With Jordan Butler in P5, they're on 81 points, looking to pick up the pieces if Logston or Lauzon and lose out today and potentially sneak their way up into the top three, but we'll have to wait and see what Butler can do to get into the mix, with Jerome Bajulas there in P6 on 38 points, Edwin Offret on 34 points, ahead of Matthew Shepka based on result count back in P7, with Shepka also on 34 points, and completed all of our drivers who've got points on the board. John Wilding there, yet to get any points on board. He's currently not classified in at the standings, apart from at the P10 there, but it would be P9 effectively if he were classified according to position. Now, as we come on to the AM classification, meanwhile, we can see here it's a bit of a different complexion, because at the top of the standings, Justin Braggon leads the way by 7 points over Fernando Takahashi. Justin Braggon has been the household name to beat. In round number 1, he was the winner at Watkins Glen after late drama saw Lee Porter lose out on what looked to be a dead certain win with only a lap to go, but Braggon picked it up and made sure to bring it on home. Last time out in the TCR race, it was all about Fernando Takahashi bringing home the major prize, with Justin Braggon not too far behind in P2 in the class, and therefore continues to pick up a major haul of points, and that's why he stands 7 points clear of Takahashi. Now, to be fair, the Brazilian in P2 is looking to potentially take any points he can and get as close as possible to Braggon come the finish, but his focus may just be a little bit more on consolidating that P2, with Mark Senegal in P3 only 2 points behind, and Lee Porter only a further 2 points behind on 72 points in at P4. I mean, indeed, imagine that sparks are going to fly between the trio in who's going to be P2 in the championship, if not the championship winner. Sam Cran in at P5 down on 39 points, 3 clear of Adrian Fedorowski, but it's been a difficult campaign for the pair of them there, and they'll both be looking to wrap up on a high, particularly Cran, who will be in attendance tonight, and I think Fedorowski may not be able to make it, unfortunately, and therefore Cran's going to have the run of P5 and look to potentially try and get a statement over his peers in the championship, in terms of whilst he may not come home with the championship positions come the end of tonight, he'll still be one of the fastest out of the AM class. And then Jesse Jefferson Jr. on 34 points there in P7, completing our drives with points registered against them. And Gus Blondell and Albert Brand, unfortunately not scoring any points so far, and therefore not in the championship classification to date. But let's go on to our circuit for today, and it is, of course, the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, located in Monterey County in the state of California in the United States of America. This circuit, as we can see from the circuit map provided us by simracingwiki.com, consists of 11 corners. And, well, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if this circuit was to be considered the equivalent of another circuit in the world, I would argue it's the equivalent of the British circuit of Brands Hatch Grand Prix, for the simple reason it is a narrow circuit. It's a very technical circuit focused around medium speed to low speed corners, but it also does have some limited straightaways and also a whole variety of cambered and off camber corners. And, well, let's not also forget the one unique feature of this circuit which makes a lot of people tremble when you say it. It has the corkscrew chicane. At turns 8 and 8A, it is an 18 metre drop from apex to apex, and our drivers will need to brave it from start to finish should they wish to do well here. But as our drivers make the way down the start finish straight through the kink of 1 into the Andretti hairpin of turn number 2, that's the lowest speed corner on the circuit, excluding turn number 11. They'll look to get on the power as soon as possible as they run their way into the right-hander of turn 3 before charging through the right-hander of turn number 4, which is all about a lift or a dab of the brake, and then hitting full throttle as soon as you hit that apex before they head into the heavily cambered corner of turn number 5, where turns 5, 6, and also 9 are all about managing your throttle control and being able to carry as much speed as possible out of the corner. And turn 5 there, we'll see our drivers dig the wheels in, particularly the right-hand side tyres, as they try to use the road camber to power their way up towards turn number 6, which with its depression in the road and a very high apex bump curve, we'll see many a driver have to really hesitate on the throttle should they wish to survive the corner, otherwise they may find themselves going off into the sand and gravel. Make their way out of that, they'll head up the Russell straight up to the highest point of the circuit on the hill, and that'll be at turn number 7 before breaking in a straight line into the Corkscrew chicane, which sees them plummet on down before they charge all the way into a rainy curve at turn number 9, a heavily off camber corner, which will see our drivers need to go as deep as possible to get a late apex and carry the speed on through into turn number 10, a heavily cambered corner, turn number 10, which will spit our drivers out in the run to the turn 11 hairpin, and then they'll do it all over again. Sounds exciting? Well, I can definitely tell you, when we ride on board road drives, you'll get to see the fast-paced action of Laguna Seca over a single lap, and these Cadillacs, it's not one to miss. Now, as for our rules for tonight, to give you a reminder, in terms of setup, drivers shall be running the iRacing baseline setup for the Cadillac CTS-V, and that means all our drivers will be running the same setup. The only thing they're allowed to adjust is the brake bias on the car. As for car fuel loads, they'll be restricted to 45%, which I believe will mandate a pit stop at some point in the race with regards to needing to take on fuel, unless the driver looks to fuel save as much as humanly possible. As for the race will start under a manual double-fold rolling start, with the formation being held up to the green flag. Each driver shall have 3 fast repairs available, and a driver shall receive a drive-through penalty if they accumulate 18 or more instant points. An independent steward will be in place monitoring the race as well, and they will be looking out for potential incidents which would warrant a safety car, and a safety car may be deployed up to twice if needed. Additional bonus points shall also be awarded to the AM classes podium finishers, and they'll be 3 for first, 2 for second and 1 for third, on top of the bonus points that come as standard for the classes, i.e. 1 point for the fastest lap of the race, and also the bonus point for taking pole position in qualifying. But that's enough rules, regulations and everything in between. I know what you're all here for, ladies and gents, but let's head back to our pictures. It is already time for qualifying. With the final practice warm-up session complete, we are waiting for our drivers to make their way out onto circuit, and well, nobody so far heading on out, but it does look as though we've got a couple of drivers now creeping their way out of the pit lane, and well, who is going to win the best possible laps here over the course of the 10-minute qualifying session? Let's find out. Now, what does it take to do well here at Laguna Seca, I hear you ask? Well, it takes a driver to be brave and also to be in complete control of the car. This circuit is absolutely punishing to the uninitiated driver. The reason for that is, as you can see here from our circuit cameras as our drivers make their way on around, this circuit is not wide. It is a narrow circuit and it does not have significant runoff areas. You can see the gravel sand areas as our drivers make their way on around. Indeed, if they dip a single tyre into those areas, they may find themselves spinning out accordingly. For the simple reason, trying to deploy 460 horsepower on those rear wheels with this car being front engine rear wheel drive and making your way out of the corner, and while those wheels happens to slide onto the gravel as you try to get that power down, it's not going to be comfortable for any driver at all, and that means it will become a very difficult car to master as they look to try and get the power on down. On top of that as well, because of the circuit being so narrow and also typically quite a bit of windage across the circuit, you will normally see dust and gravel gradually float across the tarmac, and that only adds the complexity. And what that means is the circuit here has one of the lowest grip coefficients typically of any racing circuit out there, and therefore you really do have to have those tyres up to temperature. You've got to know how much grip is available and put it all together in order to be able to deliver the ultimate lap. And well, who will be able to do so? That will be the question, as we see James Logston here make his way into the final corner just behind John Lauzon and just ahead of one of his peers as they come rolling on down, and I believe that's Francois Schick just behind as they go into their first flying laps, and you can hear the roar of the 6.2 litre V8 engines barreling around the circuit right now. Absolutely wonderful noise. And a little bit of trivia with regards to the Cadillac CTS-V, which some may not know, as we see there, goodness me, James Logston trying to get the power down and going for a spin, and already somebody else doing the same as well. And what I believe, well, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that was Mark Senegal also getting it wrong there at the Andretti hairpin, as we do try to see. Yeah, that is Mark Senegal indeed, as he spins around once again and will try to get that power down, and Mark Senegal just gets towed to the pits. So I think those tyres may need a little bit of a refresh there, given the fact he's definitely going to have taken a huge amount of layer off of the tyres. But that goes to show how tricky these cars are. And a little bit of trivia about this machine. the Cadillac CTS-V became very popular in the United States of America and also around the globe thanks to a movie in which it was featured in whilst it was in its prototype form. And some of you who are anoraks of the movies may recall that the car made a prominent feature in The Matrix Reloaded, where it was driven by our protagonist as they had the ultimate highway chase. It got shot up quite heavily, albeit they actually, with regards to the directorship, at the time the Cadillac CTS-V was not in production, it was in the prototype stages, as we see Tanner Dibble there having a spin, and Dibble having a spin. Well, that goes to show you, even your championship leader in the pro class getting it wrong. Anybody can get it wrong here in these cars. But just before we come back onto that, a little bit of trivia is that at the time of the movie, the car was in its prototype form, and the directors bought 10 prototypes of the car in all different states of conditions in terms of messing them up and damage as part of the stunts, and that's how the car ended up in the movie, and also ended up being quite popular stateside and also around the globe. But as we see some lap times coming onto the board, indeed many a driver just tiptoeing their way on around, and as they tiptoe their way around at the moment, we say hello there in the YouTube tag to Gruffley, and so says, gentlemen, start your engines. Indeed, everybody here now, engines ablaze, and lovely to have you with us, Gruffley, and also Jason Landry there, and it is the big finale of the Racing Champions indeed. Jason, I hope you guys are doing well. If you're tuning in right now, don't be shy, feel free to say hi if you can, and if not, well, I hope you're having a great weekend so far, and we've got some fantastic racing ahead of us as we see Fernando Takahashi going provisional and pole so far with 26.389 indeed. Getting it wrong there coming into turn number 2, and so many drivers trying to carry excess speed into the corners around the Andretti hairpin in particular. And it just seems to be unsettling the car, and I do wonder if they're perhaps coming down the gearbox a bit aggressively as well. Of course, you want to try and come down the gears as quickly as possible to use engine braking to help retard the car, but do it too soon, of course, it causes the rear to lift up aggressively, and that causes the car to lose traction on the rear end. But as we do see Takahashi bring himself back up to speed right now, we do have Francois Schick making the way into the final corner, and as he exits on out, what's it going to be here? The current provisional pole time over on in the pro class is 25.518, set by John Lauzon. Takahashi has also set the bar at P4, but Francois Schick jumps all the way out there into the top spot with a 1:25.354, and a lovely lap there from the number 18 car as he makes his way through turn number 2. And indeed right now Schick finding that balance, many a driver finding that balance, and well, as we see them making the way around, we see James Locks across the line. He goes even faster at 24.924, but we ride on board with John Lauzon as he heads across the line and takes us on board for a lap here of the American circuit. To head through the kick one flat out onto the brakes here at the foreboard, 200 metres from corner apex as he turns into the first apex of the Andretti hairpin, now brings the car around before getting up onto the power once again from second gear. He'll make his way up towards third gear before going onto the brakes here into turn number 3. Late apex, got to get on the power as early as possible as you power out from second gear, now up into third gear, dab of the brake, roll the car into turn 4, and as soon as you hit the apex curve, back on the power as you now make your way up towards turn number 5. Hook to your right for your brake mark, it'll be the number 3 board as he gets onto the anchors there, about 140 metres, coming down to third gear, and as he makes his way into the camber corner, takes a bit too much speed, but manages to keep 2 balls of the circuit as he makes his way up into turn number 6, looks to his right for his brake mark with the 100 metre board there, as he goes into the dip and out the other side, and now makes his way up the right hook straight towards turns 7 and 8. Coming into the kink of 7 and getting ready to stamp on the anchors as he goes into the blind crest. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen, on the roller coaster ride that's the Corkscrew as he comes on down in second gear and rolls his way now down into a rainy curve. Coming into the long left-hander, it never seems to arrive, and there's the apex. He powers on out in third gear. We'll head down into turn number 10. Third gear once again, almost at the limiter as he makes his way out the corner and up towards turn number 11. The right-angled left-hander here on the brakes all the way down to second gear, down to first gear as he powers out. Bit of wheel spin there, bit of oversteer kicking as he tries to get the power down. Hence the timeline. I think Lauzon's quite happy with this lap, given the run. It's not an improvement, but it was a beautiful lap all the same as he now makes his way onto another fast lap with only 3.5 minutes to go. Indeed, time is wearing thin, and well, speaking of things wearing thin right now, it's a thin margin of only a 10th between Bragan and Logston, but Justin Bragan right now is your overall pole sitter, and he's also your AM pole sitter as the AM driver roars his way on around here. Heads up the hill. I think we have got a driver off circuit there coming on through. Well, we did have a driver off circuit. That was Francois Schick getting it slightly wrong only moments ago, coming out of turn number 6 and onto the Rahul straight. But as we see Bragan flying on around right now, the 271 driver absolutely going for gold here, and of course right now, given the way the championship currently stands, this is the perfect setup for him by putting all the pros between himself and the rest of the AM class. He's definitely putting down a statement here, which is he is planning to take those bragging rights home tonight in the AM championship class. He comes into the final corner, makes his way on out. He's looking a faster lap here as he comes to line. 2 wheels just win the white lines as he comes across the timeline. He improves to a 24.671. Bragging is absolutely flying right now. My goodness, the man cannot be stopped, it would seem. I think the only thing that's going to stop him is his own impetus. Meanwhile, James Logs is currently your pro pole sitter as he comes to the timeline here. 2.5 tenths down, does not improve this time, but he still does have 2 more laps in the tank in terms of the time available as he makes his way down into the Andretti hairpin. But he loses the rear of the car, and well, that is going to compromise the remainder of his qualifying session, but it does give us a beautiful view of his anime style inspired livery all the same, and I wonder if that was intentional. Joking aside, however, I think he did intend to park right in front of the camera, but still, we got to see Logston's livery in full. But just goes to show you again, and James Logston, one of the big names, of course, in our GT3 championship for this year, getting it wrong in the Cadillac. These are not easy cars to drive, and that's why they were selected, given the high test of a driver's capabilities that these cars have put on our drivers. As we do see here, Graham making his way into turn at number 6 in an animated inspired livery of his own, and currently no time on the board than the number 260 driver, and right now this would affect him, meaning he'll be starting from towards the back. It's the same for Tanner Dibble, in fact, who's yet to get a time on the board, and Dibble making his way through Rainey into turn number 10 right now, and as the in and out driver comes on through in the number 69 car up to the final corner, onto the brakes he goes. Of course, the livery being inspired by the fast food chain in the United States, and as he makes his way out to turn number 11, what's it going to be here? 1 more lap on the timer as he comes to the line. He gets the time on the board, and it's enough for provisional point in the pro class, puts him 8.5 hundredths off of Bragan, and the 24.756. A lovely lap there from Dibble as he now looks to go a little bit faster, or does he? No, he stops. I think he feels as though he's done enough, as we still got Logston parked up there on the run out of Andretti, and we see Francois Schick going for 1 more lap as he makes his way into turn number 4. And right now we have not got too many drivers left on circuit. Most of our drivers right now deciding to end their qualifying sessions early. I think feeling as though they've done enough here and they need the breather before they go racing. Completely understandable given the run of the cars all the way through. And as we do see Shink making his way into what is turn number 6, then up the hill he goes into the braking zone very shortly. Well, he'll be looking to do everything he can in order to be able to get himself a little bit further up the order, given the fact currently P4, and well, not too many more places he can gain, but he'd like to be on that front row alongside what's going to be our AM pole sitter, we believe. And Shink looking quite smooth as he makes his way into turn number 10, but what's it going to be as he comes to the conclusion of the lap here, as he makes his way into 11, on the brakes he goes. Well, it's going to be, I don't think, too much improvement in the first half of the lap. A little bit of a tail slapper there as he makes his way to the line, and as he comes across that timeline, and it's not an improvement there for Francois Shink as he makes his way down towards turn 1. His qualifying session is over. Meanwhile, out then, yet to put a time on the board, or a valid time we should say, and looking to make sure he gets one in now as he comes out the final corner. Here's Samuel Cran as he makes his way on out, and what's this going to be? Will it be enough to dethrone Bragan? I don't think so. I think he might have just put in a reference time at 27.150, just getting a time on the board, but that is qualifying complete, ladies and gentlemen. And well, it is Justin Bragan who has taken pole position overall in the AM class, and it's Tanner Dibble who has taken pole position in the pro class. He'll line up P2, and that is an interesting reversal of fortune going into the race, but that's how qualifying concludes. And now we get ready to go into the final race of the season, as we say hello to John Lauzon in the YouTube chat, who are agreeing with Jason Landry that the car sounds absolutely great. Indeed, these V8s absolutely roaring in the Californian sunshine, and that's what we'd love to have happen. But as our drivers get set to go right now, we've got a couple of drivers still parked in the pit lane, I do believe, including Fernando Takahashi, but I think they've all now been directed out. They will be very shortly directed out of the pit lane, and we'll be going onto the grid for the preparation for our one and only feature race on the schedule. And our pole sitter there of Justin Bragg, and I don't think he can quite believe what he's been able to achieve in this qualifying session, but he better believe it now because it is time for us to go to the grid. So this is how they line up then in our season finale. Going in round number 3 of the Race of Champions 2022, brought to you here at Laguna Seca Raceway. It is Justin Bragg who lines up on pole by 1/10 over Tanner Dibble, who was your pro pole sitter. But it's the pole sitter of Justin Bragg who takes overall pole position. And then behind them on row number 2, James Logston for Team Bearpoke, joined by Francois Schinck, the privateer. And then on row number 3, it's the pro pair of John Lauzon from Blue Flag Motorsports, and DNA Motorsports is Jordan Butler, with Jesse Jameson Jr. and Mark Senegal lining up on the fourth row. The pair looking to have a good end to their season. Fernando Takahashi and Samuel Cran, the pair there, completing at row number 5, and that will be your grid for this race, with, of course, Jason Landry listed there as our independent race director steward, and I believe Jerome Julaz and Lee Porter not able to make it to the grid, so we will only have 10 drivers taking to this grid, ladies and gents. But what we lack in numbers, we by no means will be lacking in terms of quality of the racing action and the performance of our drivers, and well, who is going to be coming on home with the bragging rights of the win here, but also in their respective championships. Not long to go until we find out, but whilst we have a limited field here, absolutely fantastic to see all of our drivers in attendance, all in absolutely firing liveries, and well, who is going to be the one who stands on that top step come at the checkered flag. Not long to go, the safety car will be pulling away in approximately 40 seconds time, and we will see. But as we look a little bit further down the order, of course, Fernando Takahashi's got it all to do from the back row of the grid if he wants to have that opportunity to try and take the fight to Justin Bragg and also guarantee himself that P2 in the championship. With Mark Senegal there in the Rothmans livery machine just off to his right in front on row number 4, starting P8, and of course, Takahashi, he will be mindful that Senegal is only a few points behind, and therefore it's all to play for. And Jesse Jameson Jr. just ahead of him as well, and Will Jameson Jr. having a difficult round number 2, but looking to bounce back strong after also a difficult round number 1. There's plenty of points to play for, but with that, the gridding process is complete, and it is now time for Justin Bragg to take our drivers away for the formation lap, the partial formation lap, head down towards the final corner, and then he'll set the pace for us to go green. And there he goes, and it's time for us to go racing for one more time, but Tanner Dibble gets a better launch off the line as it's green flag in the run to Andretti for the first time of asking. Dibble on the outside, Bragg on the inside, and you can see Francois Schinck trying to go all the way around the houses as well, as there we also see coming on the inside, that's the number 77 of John Lauzon, who cuts up the inside there, Francois Schinck as they make the way up towards turn number 3. Cold tyres, of course, and cold brakes is going to make it a very tricky opening lap, as we see there side by side, Schinck and Logston go toe to toe as they make the way out 3 and into 4. On the way on through here, Schink's not backing out as Logston stays on the outside. There's contact between the two, and as they come on out, well, Logston has gone on around, and everybody else makes their way on through. As we see here, Mark Senegal going on the offensive versus Jordan Butler as they come into turn number 5, on their way through the left-hander here, and Mark Senegal making a great start, much like Fernando Takahashi behind. In fact, Takahashi jumping multiple places all the way from P9 up to P6 already, and he's still got ground to grow and gain as he makes his way up the hill. As they charge on through, Francois Schinck still battling here with Samuel Cran as they make the way into the braking zone for the Corkscrew. Schink's going to be on the inside here. I think this may be a relatively all said and done pass in the end, given you can't go too wide through the Corkscrew by any means, but Logston's off onto the gravel, and as he drifts his way on through, he'll try to bring the car back very shortly, but as he returns, he drops to the back of the field. But meanwhile, looking from then to Jesse Jameson Jr., running the US Army outfit machine, you can see here defending versus Francois Schinck as they come into the final corner, and well, that is one lap complete as we've got parts of there. That's Mark Senegal, and well, that's not the way he wanted it to go, given the fact that if he'd been holding it on circuit, he would have been ahead of Takahashi and looking to hold off his main rival in the hunt for P2. But as we look to the fielder further up the road, we can see here that Samuel Cran makes the move on Schinck and takes P6 as they head into the braking zone here for Andretti. But as we look a little bit ahead, there's your leader, and he's gone for a spin as we've got a spin further back as well. Francois Schinck going around, Justin Bragg getting it wrong from the lead of the race, and the AM leader drops down the field like a stone. Now Fernando Takahashi is your M-Class leader, running in P4 overall as he makes his way through turn number 4 once more. But meanwhile, as things start to settle down, although I say that we could have a spin at any moment, we look to Tanel Dibble Hill, who leads the race as he makes his way up into turn number 6. And the DNA Motorsports driver, well, bringing it on through here, coming through turn number 6 and looking smooth right now as he heads on up the hill. But definitely some early drama in the racing here at Laguna Seca, and I believe as he makes his way into the braking zone, they may be running to a bit of a slower pace at the moment due to a safety car being called. And indeed, we do have safety car conditions at the moment, it would seem. Or do we know? In fact, we don't. I'm not. In fact, I think we might have safety car conditions being triggered shortly, although I'm not 100% sure that, because we did see him going a bit slowly there in the run along the hill. But in fact, I think things have calmed down. Perhaps it's a bit of inverse interpretation. Well, we'll consider they're still going racing until we see a safety car on circuit. We see yellow flags out, but nothing at the moment as Dibble makes his way out of the final corner and heads down towards turn number 2 once more. As he comes on the charge here, it is Dibble who leads ahead of John Lowes on P2. And there we do have a yellow flag waving, so we do have a safety car, as I'm to understand. So our drivers are running to a defined pace, so we were right on the call there as we see our drivers making the way on around. Francois Schinck is into the pit lane as I look at my commentary booth window to see a number of repairs taking place very shortly. There's the safety car on circuit, so we are going to be behind the safety car for at least a couple of laps. But definitely a dramatic start to the racing here today at the Laguna Seca Raceway. And as we do see the Blue Flag Motorsports driver John Nelson tucking it in behind Jordan Butler, a great start as well, getting three places off the race start, and now everyone having to really calm the tempo down. Unfortunately, we can't take a look back at what happened on that opening pair of laps due to limitations of the iRacing replay file, but as they made the way on through here, we do only have one car that is currently missing, and that is Francois Schinck, who's currently in the pit lane. In fact, he's leaving the pit lane at the moment. He's used that fast repair, and he'll be looking to catch up to the field as soon as possible. But a tricky start, and what has been really catching our drivers out, I think, is those cold tyres early on, and also the amount of power being deployed in these cars. Because you have to keep in mind as well that these cars, whilst they do have that huge rear wing on the back of them, beyond that they've only got some minor aerodynamic refinements. Otherwise it's mostly the road car with an absolutely ram-packed 6.2 litre V8 engine when you've got 460 horsepower that it's been down-tuned to, we should point out here. These cars normally out of the box are packing 550 to 560 horsepower with a top speed on the road of what is stated as 175 miles an hour, but some have been able to take it on the roadways all the way up to 191 miles an hour depending on the spec of the car. What we can say here is this is a very tricky combination. We saw it qualified and it has reared itself in the race as well. And we are going to bite into our race time as a result of this, but to be fair, I don't think Tanner Dibble is going to mind too much at the moment for the simple reason it will take some of the edge out of the race, and also it means our drivers now can look at things such as fuel saving to see whether they can give themselves a bit more room with regards to the gas mileage as they go deeper and deeper into the race and avoid having to have an extended pit stop when they do come into the pits for fuel, presuming they will need to do so. But as we look to the back of the field, Francois Schinck has caught up and we ride on board here with the privateer who's had the repair work done to the car. He's at the back of the pack, and as he gets ready to go once again, I suspect we'll have the safety car in come the end of this lap, and for Schinck he'll be going racing once again, and in front of him is your overall pole sitter and your AM pole sitter Justin Bragan, and oh how the tables have turned in the space of only a couple of laps. But for Bragan, of course, all he needs to do is bring the car home and he should be safe in the championship so long as he brings the car on home within 50% of the race distance being completed, which means he'll qualify for full points. But as our drivers head on around here, Schinck definitely right now thinking about that fight in the championship with Dibble and 9. He needs to be right up the other end of the table. He can't afford to be all the way down the bottom. He needs to be ahead of Dibble in order to have a chance of taking that crown with only a point separating the two of them. But it's not looking good. Meanwhile, Samuel Grant here will have started all the way on the back row from P10, the final spot on the grid. The Team Bareboat drivers jumped all the way up into P5, P2 in the AM class, and the only driver standing between him and a win in this series now is Fernando Takahashi, who sits just in front there in the silver grey machine as he makes his way on through turn number 6 here. And the safety car just ahead up the road here, and I think some of our drivers will be hoping the safety car goes a little bit faster, but one thing we can tell you is they will be going faster very shortly given the lights are off on the safety car, which means we'll be going racing again come the end of this lap, and we will be going racing with about 33 minutes remaining as we see Dibble making his way down through the corkscrew. And of course all our drivers wanted to keep some temperature in those tires, keep some speed in the car as well, Because eyes that rear end will jut out very quickly, and now we wait to see the safety car peeling off, and it will be to Tanner Dibble to take us racing once again as they head through turn 10 and up towards 11. Goes once again, he goes as late as possible, much like the race start, and Dibble gets the launch off the line as they make their way down towards Andretti once more. Behind Jordan Butler there, battling around the outside of John Lauzon. Lauzon defending hard to the inside, however, and as they make their way through, it's too wide for the most part. We've even got 3 wide there further back. Mark Senegal in a little bit of a door rub versus James Logston, but they both survive the entanglement. And as they make their way up into turn number 3, now you can see Senegal on the outside here, he'll have to back out. Meanwhile, Jameson Jr. looking on the inside as we've got a car round, and it's James Logston again with a misfortune and another corner on the circuit. Meanwhile, looking up the inside here and trying to gain ground and make haste as Francois Schinkel gains another place as he overtakes Mark Senegal there for P8 overall as they make the way down towards turn number 5. Rolling the way on in, and Jordan Butler meanwhile jumping ahead of John Lauzon as they emerge from 5 up to 6, and they back out of it there in terms of battling side by side into turn 6. There's one place you don't go too wide for the simple reason 2 wide into turn 6 requires both drivers to take a huge chunk of speed off the car and also to be very brave on the brakes. But as they make the way into the Corkscrew, Karan into the lead of the AM class, jumping Takahashi on the restart as they make the way down into Rani. Fernando Takahashi is struggling here as they make the way through turn number 9 and heading towards turn number 10, and Justin Bragan not too far off of him. As we ride on board the gearbox here of the Brazilian, and well, that is off circuit. That's Samuel Karan off into the dust in the distance there, and Fernando Takahashi returns to the lead of the AM class as they make the way out to turn number 11. At any moment it seems like it could be a dice roll and the driver falls off the circuit, but Takahashi now in P4 here, and he knows he's got to finish ahead of Justin Bragan in order to have any chance of win this championship. But Bragan comes in like a missile under braking, the door's wide open there, and Justin Bragan takes the class lead. Does he seal the deal, however, as they make the way out Andretti and up towards turn number 3? Well, I think so at the moment as they come through the right-hander, and Justin Bragan doing everything right as they come on out the corner, and now into turn number 5 they go. Takahashi takes a look up the inside, but he can't quite find it as they now make the way on down towards turn number 5. Well, it looks as though now that with Bragan ahead, he may just be looking to make the breakaway as James Logston's into the pit lane once again, and in fact taking a quick repair on the car, and he will very shortly be back out on circuit, albeit a long way down, and hoping for that second safety car to come at some point in the race. But he's still a player in this, of course, until we get to that checkered flag. But it looks as though a little bit further back, Francois Schinkel closing up behind Jameson Jr. from Takahashi, having a slowdown coming out of turn number 6, and as they make the way on the break and here into the Corkscrew, Schinkel up the inside there, moves into P6, getting another overall position, but still trying to hunt down Jameson Jr. Looks up the inside here, Schinkel really going on the offensive right now. Jameson Jr. goes a bit deep, the car steps out, he brings it back on, a little bit of a wobble there as he returns, and Takahashi jumps ahead as Jameson Jr. drops to P3 in the AM class, P7 overall. Onto the brakes they go now into turn number 11. As they make the way on through, we look from them up towards the race leader right now, and Tanner Dibble here with 10 minutes complete, still 30 to go. The DNA Motorsports driver hot on the brakes here, and Andretti going nice and deep into the corner, and opting to focus on his exit rather than his mid-apex. And as they come into turn number 3, you can see Jordan Butler not too far behind in the Dunkin' Donuts machine, looking to go on the offensive, and John Lauzon following suit as well. It does look as though this top 3 right now all equally matched in terms of pace, with Jordan Butler setting the fastest lap of the race last time around at 25.15, albeit they haven't turned too many race pace laps, but at the same time, every fastest lap you can accrue, it's all the better for you in terms of showing your pace and also gaining a bit of confidence and ground as the race goes on. And as they make the way into turn number 6, we see Justin Bragan a bit further behind their AM leader at the moment, just running away from the AM class right now. And I think the 271 driver, after an early mistake, is finally setting himself down and recognising he does not need to be running at more than 90% at the moment in order to give himself the best possible opportunities to steal the championship crown. As he comes on down the hill, we look back to Mark Senegal here, who we ride on board with the Rothmans privateer as he comes into the Corkscrew, drops on down, of course completely blindsided from our camera. Can you imagine what it's like for the driver from his view and visor as he makes his way into turn at number 9 through Rainey and now into 10, falling away from Jameson little by little at the moment. It does look as though Jameson Jr. starting to up the tempo in the hunt versus Takahashi, but you never know. Senegal right now may know something we don't in terms of just playing it a bit safe and get himself eased into the rhythm here as they make the way up towards Andretti once again. As they come charge on through. Personal best being set by most of our drivers now. A lot of 27s in the AM class, a couple of 26 on the board, and particularly Sam McCram with 26.7, and he is flying right now after a mistake, saw him drop a long way down as he comes out to turn number 2 and makes his way up towards 3, where he's going to have the whole AM pack in his sights, bar 1, as he comes through the right-hander and makes his way on towards 4. As they come into the right-hander underneath the spark, the file stump bridge they go, and as they make their way up towards turn number 5, Cranston's got to take his time. He's got a lot of time remaining in this race. He's got over 25 minutes remaining. He can pick up the places gradually if he feels that he's got the pace to do so. James Logsdon just crossing the timing line now as we see him going past the start-finish line. And, well, as we look to James Logsdon, you can see here just gradually bring himself back into the pace, back into the swing of things. But there's still a safety car prospect on the horizon. Meanwhile, we see here Jordan Butler. Well, in fact, where's Jordan Butler gone? He's gone off there towards the wall of what is the Corkscrew chicane. Francois Schick takes a look up the inside, and, well, it's going to be the battle of the roads here as they come into turn number 10. Butler holds the inside line. Meanwhile, Schick there finds himself being elbowed out, but he still holds it there. Well, he does not in the end. He has to back off on the brakes. Further down the order, however, we've had Jameson Jr. have a major off-track, I believe, at the Corkscrew as well. And the middle of the pack racing driver has dropped all the way down to P9 as he makes his way on through, but we look back up to the battle here for P3 in the Pro class, P4 overall, and it's Schick on the inside, Butler on the outside, and I think Butler here is going to find himself with a little bit of the marbles there, and that's going to cost him the grip he needs, and Francois Schick gains another place and moves up into P4 as they come into turn number 3. Through the right hand they go now, and as they make their way on towards 4, definitely can see with Lauzon and Dibble being given the room to break away, and Butler's error at the Corkscrew chicane only moments ago. Right now, Butler is on the back foot, and he wants to try and get himself on the front foot as soon as possible as they come into turn at number 5. Well, Butler doing everything to stay as close as possible to be right on board with the DNA Motorsports driver. Now heading to turn number 6, where's his major overtaking opportunity is going to be? We've seen mostly overtaking so far in terms of where drivers have been at relatively equal pace and forcing moves on one another. The overtakes normally come in the run to turn number 2, alternatively into turn number 5. It is possible if a driver gets a pull around at the Corkscrew to try and creep out the inside into Rainey, but we can see that Schick has no plans to get it wrong on Corkscrew. Butler takes a much higher run and hits the curb, and the car goes off circuit as he now looks to bring it back gradually on board. Got to be careful here, of course, with the car so heavily unsettled. That was a major knock to the front suspension as he now makes his way into turn number 11, coming on through the left-hander here, and as we see him make his way back up to speed, Mark Senegal meanwhile off circuit there, and, well, trying to bring it into the pits, but he's missed his entry into the pits, and there's a lot of pieces missing from the privateer's car. I think he will be into the pits come the next lap, given you can see there the steering rack is not pointing a straight line, it is gradually veering to the left, and therefore Mark Senegal definitely feeling the brunt of the incident, as meanwhile Jameson Jr. into the wall, coming out the exit at the final corner, and that's gone wrong for the middle of the pack racing driver, and again mistakes still coming as our drivers bring themselves on around, and again we're not even at the halfway point of the race, we've got a long way to go, and as we said earlier, do not count out this man in terms of what can potentially happen with James Logsdon, currently setting purple laps. Indeed, that last lap before the one he's just set was the fastest lap of the race at 24.89. If Logsdon can keep up this rate of rhythm, there's no reason why we couldn't see him get back into the fight towards the end, particularly if we do see a safety car creep into the mix as well. As we look from the back of the field to the very front of the field, Tanner Dibble continues to lead by 1.3 seconds. As they make their way down through turn 9 and into turn number 10, and the DNA Motorsports driver here looking very composed as he heads into the braking zone for the final corner. But of course, right now it's all about focusing on what you can do behind the wheel of the car. You don't need any mistakes, you don't need any of that additional pressure as the top 3 make the way down towards turn number 2 once again. And you can see here John Lauzon starting to fall away a little bit as Justin Braggan sets the personal best and goes almost a whole, in fact he goes a whole second faster than Dibble, 1.1 seconds faster than Lauzon. And right now P3 driver Justin Braggan, of course our pole sitter in the qualifying session overall, he's definitely looking to be the man on a mission. And of course he'll want to bring home that overall win, because if he can do so, that'll be a huge right in his own to say he's the AM who beat the pros in the final race in 2022 as he comes out of turn number 4 and up towards turn 5 here. And when he breaks his way on in, we look out of our commentating box window and see Mark Senegal into the pit lane for repair work to the car. Given the major shunt he had earlier on, it's definitely worthwhile getting it repaired, given they have the 3 fast repairs available to them, and a number of drivers have already used 1 if not 2. And as we go deeper and deeper into this race, I can imagine a few more may be required as Bragan here not quite closing as much as he did on the previous lap in the 271 as he makes his way into the corkscrew here. Indeed, our drivers right now all finding their feet, and I think some of them may just be backing off a little bit and thinking about later in the race, and also a bit of fuel saving may be coming to effect. These cars are thirsty beasts, and every trim and drop you can save, the better it's going to be in terms of your pit time overall. Bragan makes his way out of the penalty corner into turn number 11. We look to Francois Schink just a bit further behind, and in terms of gap closing at the moment, Schink running a rather consistent pace, but Jordan Butler is building a little bit more after a brief fall off at the back of Schink only moments ago. As he makes his way across the timeline, let's see what the laps look like this time around. The Schink is a 26.001, the Butler is a 26.529, so I think in fact it is going the way of Francois Schink at the moment, as we see Butler heading down into Andretti. Fernando Takahashi further back here, and now with quite a bit of breathing room too at Samuel Cram behind, and with the Brazilian at this point, if things were to finish as they are, he'd be P2 in the championship when all is said and done, and that's the AM Championship as Grant here makes his way out of Andretti, and the Team Bearpo driver definitely right now continuing to find some pace in the car, and on that last lap in fact taking 8/10 of a second out of Fernando Takahashi, and we'll have to wait and see if he can continue to repeat it. If that consistency starts to come in, there's no reason why he can't start to duel with Fernando Takahashi later in this race, with the gap between the two of them currently standing at 5 seconds as he heads into turn number 5. As we look from him to James Logston, the man who's really putting the pace down and putting him down a little bit too hard there almost as he comes through Andretti. You can see that the car just snaking on the rear end. He tried to get all the horsepower down as he makes his way into turn number 4. Hunting down Jesse Jameson Jr. as he makes his way through the right-hander, almost clipping the apex curve. And you can see how the car dropped into the depression before the sausage curve and also after it. And the right side of the car just been bounced a little bit, as meanwhile drama in the final corner. John Lauzon with a spin there at the final corner, and that is going to bring him right back into hunting territory for Francois Schink, who is gaining the straightaway here as they make their way down towards Andretti. Tanner Dibble leads this race, then Justin Bragan moves up to P2. Your AM leader is overall P2, and then John Lauzon right now finds himself in the battle for P2 in the Pro Class once again versus Francois Schink. Of course, on the way to wanting to try and take that Pro Championship crown of the Tanner Dibble, he's got to pass both Lauzon and Bragan. He's got a way to go, and that gap right now is going the way of Dibble. Dibble on that last lap, gaining another 6/10 over Francois Schink. I think Dibble has got himself blocked in here, but of course, Schink may just be gradually easing himself back into it, given the errors we've seen from him earlier on in this race as he heads into turn number 5 here. But of course, he can't wait forever, and perhaps he may have to really now start taking those risks versus rewards in terms of looking to get at least ahead of Lauzon, and then seeing whether a safety car comes into the race later on to bunch them all back up together. We've already had one safety car. We could have a maximum of one more. Not that we wish it, of course, but anything can happen until that checkered flag falls. As we see Schink here, I think, just backing it off a little bit as he comes on through the corkscrew. In fact, that gap to Lauzon has opened up to now 2.7 seconds. I think Schink definitely focusing on keeping the car alive and making sure not to make any major errors. But as we see our drivers making their way on down and into the final corner, Tanner Dibble here leading still, but I wonder how long that will be, because look at this, Justin Bragan is closing very fast indeed. That last lap from Dibble was a 35.57, with Dibble having a major wobble on the circuit. Meanwhile, Justin Bragan, by comparison, lapping at 34.0. In fact, all the lap times falling from our drivers here. And in fact, I think we've had another safety car called, unless I'm mistaken. Can't quite see the safety car at the moment. I think there might be one just ahead of Dibble here. We didn't see the yellow flags. Indeed, another safety car has been called. So that explains why the lap times did collapse to an extent, in the fact the safety car is coming out. But that will be the last safety car that can be deployed today. And what I believe that may be for Marcel impact earlier on, and pieces being picked up off of the circuit as the auto drivers being brought back together here. And we'll remember what we said for James Logston right now. He will be looking at this and smiling a little bit, I think, given the fact now he'll find himself going right back into the hunt as they make their way through one down into 2 here. Both Logston and Jameson Jr. looking to catch up to the field as soon as possible. They'll have to run to a defined speed. They are allowed to run a little bit faster compared to those who are immediately behind the safety car, but they do have to run within a safety speed as they close up to the pack. And also Mark Senegal here in P10 looking to get back into the hunt as soon as possible. But of course, for Tanner Dibble right now, this is going to put a lot of pressure on him, and we can understand why, because as we look from his car back towards the rest of the pack, it's the P2 driver in particular he'll be worried about, of Justin Bragg, and the AM driver really showing so much pace and ferocity. But of course, that ferocity has come back to bite him once with a spin at turn 2. Corner exit, but if he can avoid those spins, you would imagine that Justin Braggan right now could really be the favourite to take the win overall here, albeit Dibble has shown great pace and also car control, so it could go either way. As Dibble in fact makes his way into the pit lane, and a number of drivers decide to come on in here for what is their scheduled stop. So I think the safety car, the second safety car, has come out at the worst possible time in terms of the break on the strategy. And what you can see here, Justin Braggan and Francois Schenck opting to stay out and make the way across the timeline. So this is going to be very interesting, because depending on when the safety car then subsequently comes in, this could really upset the run for drivers. And right now, as we see that the safety car lights have gone off, which means at the end of this lap, well, we will have no more safety car, and whoever has not taken their first pit stop has lost out massively here. And Justin Braggan and Francois Schenck behind with the damage repaired on the car. I think this really could be a mistake from these two, as Mark Senegal comes on through. And well, he's been in the pits recently, so I think he might have taken the fuel to go to the end of the race. And Mark Senegal is going to jump all the way up into P3 here with the safety car shenanigans, if you will. And Tanner Dibble behind, well, he'll look at this. I think he'll be asking himself the question, why haven't the top three come on in? And well, I'm not sure if he'll be aware of the situation regarding Senegal, but I think he'll feel confident that he can make his way past Senegal as soon as possible, given the relative pace of the two of them in qualifying. But he will not be aware that Francois Schenck has not come in for his fuel stop yet. He's only coming for repair work, and Justin Braggan has not come in at all. Well, he'll know that, of course, and therefore he'll be very inclined to think that this race day is definitely going his way, should he be able to get the restart right and break away from the pack behind. In fact, he goes up the inside there. Mark Senegal off circuit, and well, Mark Senegal there, I'm not 100% sure if he needed to give that space, but he's lost a lot of places as a result, and the privateer drops down the order as he makes his way back up to speed there. And I think that was a momentary lapse of concentration as he makes his way now up to P4. And I think he will be required to try and take the P3 position on the restart, as otherwise he'll lose the space by default as he makes his way through the corkscrew. But it'll be Justin Braggan who takes us to the restart shortly. And I think his restart may be compounded by him having to come into the pits to take on the fuel as they come down towards the penultimate corner here. Safety car lights off. It's definitely going racing come the end of this lap. And will Braggan come into the pits? No, in fact, he does not, so he's going racing once again. They head on down. Mark Senegal's lifting off for a number of drivers. Braggan heads through the final corner. We bring up the speedo here in the bottom right, and will he be going? He goes immediately on corner exit. No, he does not. He holds there. We thought he might. He's waiting for it, and now he goes literally just before the end of the grid line, and we are racing once more. That's our second safety car complete and done and dusted, and they make the way down towards Andretti here, and you can see Tanner Dibble immediately looking to go on the offensive. Meanwhile, Jordan Butler on the inside of Fernando Takahashi, and Takahashi here focusing on keeping position as they make their way up towards turn 3, focusing on the AM position rather than overall position. And we can see Mark Senegal there on the inside, battling with Samuel Grand as James Logston tries to go alongside his fellow team Bear Boat Drive. Of course, no teams racing in this series. It's all a rivalry between single drivers, and as they make the way out to turn 4 and up towards 5 here, it's 2 by 2 they go with Logston on the inside of Senegal. And then we can see Jamison June, well, in fact not Jamison June, my apologies, that's John Lauzon and Coran, and John Lauzon gets it down the racing line, and Samuel Cran drops to the back of this quartet as they make the way on towards turn 6. And as they come through the left-hander here, keeping it clever and close as they make the way up the hill. And Mark Senegal now having to defend on the outside here versus Lauzon, who's going to try and outbrake his rival into the corkscrew. And John Lauzon gets it done there. And I think Senegal not battling that one too hard, recognising the Pro trying to come on through versus the AM as they make their way down into Rainy. As they come through turn 9 and into 10 now, it'll shortly be a battle on the brakes once more. John Lauzon here keeping it smart as he steadies his way out to turn 10, towards 11, and Mark Senegal into the pits. And I would imagine that is for a fuel stop. It's got to be, unless something has gone very, very wrong with the car. But he makes his way on in. Meanwhile, Justin Braggan has yet to take a pit stop. The only driver yet to take what we suspect would be his mandatory stop. Although I say that Francois Schinck, of course, we have the question mark over in terms of how long can he go, given he had quite an early pit stop for repair work on the car, and he likely put some fuel in as well. But Senegal into the pit stop right now, and we'll keep our eyes on what's exactly happening there. We definitely see the front of the field right now close together, but how long will it be before we start to see some moves open up as James Logston here looks to make another move versus Fernando Takahashi, gets the run out of turn number 4, but has he got the run into 5? Onto the brakes they go, no way at the moment as they come through the left-hander as they power their way out. Logston goes a bit wide, and that's enough to send the car to the tyre barrier, and James Logston gets it wrong again, and just literally one wheel a couple of inches beyond the exit curb. And well, now the Team Bear Poke driver is going to try and creep it round to get it in for its final fast repair, but that is not the way that Logston would have wanted this restart, as Mark Single leaves his pit box and gets back up to speed. But we look to the front of the field here in Tanner Dibble right now, trying to chase down Francois Schinck to find himself with only half a second's advantage over Jordan Butler behind as they make the way up towards the final corner here. Onto the brakes they go, and Schinck definitely under pressure right now. And how long can the privateer go? As we see there, Jordan Butler almost losing it on the dust and grab on the exit of the final corner. And as they make their way to the timeline here and head on to what for them is now lap number 18 under race conditions. 28 minutes complete, still 12 to go by the time they clear Andretti and make the way towards turn number 3. And we've still got plenty of laps to be turned, I'm sure. Plenty of drama. It's not over yet as they make the way up towards turn 3. And you can see right now Dibble just focusing on trying to get a little bit closer to the Schinck corner after corner, with Jordan Butler right there with him, and Justin Bragg in the lead of this race. Surely he's got to pit at some point. As they make the way up towards turn number 5 at the moment. That pit stop's going, we'll wait to see. We can't see any action happening down the pit lane at the moment from Braggon's pit crew, but meanwhile John Lauzon here running in P6, closing up to the back of Fernando Takahashi after Logston tried to do so, and it's almost as if the exit of turn 5 is cursed for anybody who's running behind this man, because Logston lost out on the previous lap, and now John Lauzon with the exact same mistake at the exact same corner in the hunt, and the exact same driver gets it wrong as well. And Fernando Takahashi at this point will be just shrugging his shoulders in the car and thinking, okay, well, don't mind me then, as he makes his way into turn number 9. The number 223 driver here absolutely keeping it calm and smart as he makes his way into turn number 10. Samuel Crowder is gaining little by little, gained by 4 tenths on the previous lap, and he'll be hoping to gain by the same margin this time around as they make their way into the final corner to complete lap number 18. As Grant heads through the left-hander here, of course the challenge for him will be in the 260 machine is, can he find a way to balance that runner speed versus putting it at risk in terms of losing the run of the car as he makes his way down into turn number 2. As he heads on down under braking right now. Well, we tell you the last lap he set at 27.70 was 5 tenths slower than Fernando Takahashi on a 27.19. So it does look as though here Grant's having to back it off through any risk of making a major error. But meanwhile, speaking not being able to back off here, it's not Tanner Dibble has to worry about backing off. He's comfortable right now, given the fact that Francois Schinck, well, in fact, he's not comfortable given the fact that Francois Schink's only a point behind. And if things were to finish as they do right now, we would be crowning Francois Schinck as your championship winner in the Pro Championship. And of course, we don't know how long Schinck can go on that current fuel tank. We reckon he's got to come in for a fuel stop at some point, despite the fact he's been in already very early today for repair work to the car. But again, we will wait and see what materialises. Jordan Butler here could really be the man that puts the distance and the deficit between the two. And if Butler was to get ahead of Dibble, then that would be alarm bells in Dibble's mind in terms of making sure to bring home that championship crown as they make the way into the final corner again. As they come through, Butler getting closer and closer as they exit, and we ride on board here with the DNA Motorsports driver, and as he makes his way down towards turn 2 and enjoys the visceral nature of the roar of the Cadillac engine, where you can see Dibble in front not getting closer to his rival there, as we see Mark Senegal backing out in the run to Andretti, deciding to let the leaders through and just gradually and gently roll the car down the hill. Understandable their great awareness of Mark Senegal as they make the way out of Andretti now into turn number 3. Butler takes a very early apex, just missing the sausage curve as they come out of 3 and into 4. And of course those raised red curves that you can see there, what we refer to as the sausage curves, the sleeping policemen, however you want to say them, nasty when they're hit by a wheel. It sends the whole front of the car up into the air, and as they make the way down to turn number 5 right now, you see on pretty much every apex here at Laguna Seca, we do have those raised curves, and that's to stop drivers from cutting the curves too aggressively but of course the converse is true. If you're able to just get as close as possible to the curve, you gain a huge amount of lap time. But Butler right now staying with 6/10 there of Dibble, who in turn is about half a second off the back of Shink as they make the way under braking into the Corkscrew. Down they go, through and they roll, and just ahead Justin Braggan with an error, it would seem, in the lead of this race, running slow. In fact, I think Justin Braggan is trying to make the fuel tank last here as he comes on down. Has he gone too far? Will he be into the pit? Surely he's got to be coming in, and Shink's in as well. So this will release Tanner Dibble back into the lead of the race. We thought it had to come at some point, and when it's come with 8 minutes to go, I think they must have been relying on this race going longer behind the safety car and less laps being turned under full throttle, because now Tanner Dibble returns to the lead, and this is his to lose as he makes his way under braking into Andretti. Meanwhile, further behind, Fernando Takahashi now takes the lead of the AM class, with Cran at 3.5 tenths behind him. The gap between the two of them keeps oscillating. It seems as though from lap to lap it's either Takahashi or Cran who's faster by at least 3 tenths, if not more of a second each time around. As they come on through, you can see Cran here continuing to try and hunt down his rival. But I think Samuel Cran right now, all he can do is keep putting in the laps and hope the consistency shines through. And Takahashi finds a hole in his own armour and gets it wrong at some point as Justin Braggan emerges from the pit lane and heads up towards turn number 3, and he finds himself down in P3 in class P6 overall. And in terms of his championship aspirations, if he finishes where he is currently, he will still be crowned AM champion, so he's got nothing to worry about. I think he'll be a little bit disappointed that he couldn't make it an overall win to wrap up tonight. Of course, we could still have more drama. I think with 7 minutes to go, and given the relative simplicity and also consistency that we see for the racing approach of Tanner Dibble from Jordan Butler, Fernando Takahashi, I think that top 3 may be hard to budge in terms of making errors unless they take one another off the circuit. Of course, you never know what can happen when they get close to one another, and I wouldn't be surprised right now if Jordan Butler's looking at the back end of the in and out machine and thinking that he wants a piece of it and he wants to go dunking into turn number 2 for glory in terms of looking for a move for the lead. But as he makes his way up towards Andretti right now, that gap is opening up. In fact, on that last lap, open up by a whole 7 tenths of a second, as Butler then not having a strong lap by comparison, and as they both continue to lap in the 26s, Tanner Dibble definitely seems to be opening up the lap margin now as they make the way into turn 3. Coming through the right hand, then we look a little bit further back to Justin Braggan here, who right now does need to try and pick up the pieces, and Fernando Takahashi was spinning at Andretti, and we only said moments ago it only takes one minor chink in the armour to get it wrong, and Takahashi, who's been absolutely flawless up to this point, now yields to Samuel Cran and goes into the lead of the AM class here with 6 minutes to go. And I think if you were to ask the Team Bear Poke driver going into tonight, do you see yourself winning in the AM class or battling for the lead of the AM class, I think he'd be saying to you, excuse me, you have to say that again, because right now the man is in the lead. He's got Takahashi right behind him, and well, can he hold off the Brazilian in the run to the conclusion? He's not got long to go, but to be fair, in these cars every lap's going to feel like an eternity, for the simple reason it's so on ice and on edge from lap to lap. As he heads down towards what is the Corkscrew chicane, onto the brakes here, tight line by comparison with Takahashi, who's taking it very gingerly at first, you'll notice, and in fact there, Crank getting a better run out to the corner into Rainey. And I think Takahashi may have seen some of his confidence dented as they make the way up towards turn number 10. Also, there might be a bit of a flat spot on the tyres with the spin at Andretti. Only moments to go, but as they head into the final corner, that gap is becoming more and more pronounced with every yard pulled. But as they come out of the final corner onto another lap, we see John Lauzon is in the pit lane and Jefferson Jr. has retired. We believe that John Lauzon has had to retire the car due to technical issues, which is very unfortunate, but it's still the same, and the same for Jameson Jr. Both drivers out of this race, and I can see that John Lauzon in the YouTube chat saying not sure how got a penalty for passing. Well, I think that's in reference to a pass earlier on, one that we may have caught, and that may be the contributing factor to effectively a race penalty, which is demanded that Lauzon comes into the pits, which is very unfortunate, and well, not the way that Lauzon would have wanted to conclude his Race of Champions campaign after a brilliant run in the Pro class from start to finish so far. But as we do see Grant here holding on to lead of the AM class with not many laps remaining, he's continued to open up that advantage to Takahashi. Now the gap up to 1.5 seconds, as meanwhile we look up to the leaders of the Pro class, and we can see here Tanner Dibble from DNA Motorsports holding a 1.4 second advantage as he comes out of rain. He's pushing the margins there, and I think Dibble's got to try and think about not pushing it too hard, or does he just forget about thinking and drive naturally? I think he should do the latter, in fact, rather than the former, because at the end of the day, the less thinking that goes in now and the more it just comes naturally, the more likely he's going to bring the 69 car home on the top step of the overall and the pro podium as he makes his way across that timeline. 3 more laps to go. It may be 2, depending on how soon they get through this next lap, but as he comes down to the braking zone here for Andretti, he won't be thinking about how many more laps to go. He'll be thinking about the fact he's not too far away from taking the ultimate braking rights of the series. As we see Jordan Butler staying just behind there, the gap between them continues to increment out little by little. Right now there's no major battles occurring in terms of drivers close together. We are waiting to see if anyone does potentially make an error right at the end that costs them dearly. But what we can see is that Samuel Cranach is really now putting a foothold on the lead of the AM class here. We're a 3.2 second gap as they make the way into turn number 3 versus Fernando Takahashi. That gap oscillating between what is 3 seconds and 3.2 currently, but Takahashi has fallen away back. Meanwhile, Butler off the road, and that is at turn number 6. He's got it wrong at the left-hander before the right haul straight, and that is going to cost him very dearly and release Dibble. I think Dibble right now can definitely start to think about backing off, because he's got a 7-second advantage right now rather than a 1.5-second advantage over the second place DNA Motorsports driver. And as he comes on through, Mark Senegal with a spin there at the Corkscrew, where he brings it back together in quick fashion. Nicely recovered there by Senegal, but it does look as though that the number 227 driver is definitely having a difficult day at the office. Last our runners out of the circuit, but he'll still want to bring the car home, of course, to get some points and make sure that he finishes inside the top 3 in the AM Championship as he makes his way under braking here into the final corner. 2 more laps to be turned by our leaders. They cross the line before 38 minutes remaining. So 38 minutes complete, we should say, rather than remaining. It's been a long race. We've almost done, in fact, we've done 38 minutes complete. If we had that many remaining, it'd be a long test to our drivers' patience and stamina. But Tanner Dibble right now holding more and more that advantage over Butler, and definitely, I think, starting to back it off as he goes on through at turn number 4 and down towards 5, and definitely now just easing himself to the conclusion. And as you say, Jason Lantry in the YouTube chat, really tough day, but there indeed. It has been a very tough day for all of our drivers all out there as they make their way on through into turn number 6 right now. And well, for Dibble, it is going to be a conclusion worth making haste for as he makes his way in towards the Corkscrew. Meanwhile, looking a bit further back to James Logston here in what is a car that's definitely seen better days in terms of the bodywork there. The Team Bearpo driver just trying to limp home now in P7, and well, with a 58-second gap to our leader. And in terms of Justin Bragan, a gap of almost 30 seconds, just slightly under at the moment. He'll be looking at P7 overall, no higher, and P4 in the pro class here as he comes through at turn number 3. But to be fair, it has been a changing combo, and it hasn't always worked out for all of our drivers. But meanwhile, we look to Karan here, who right now is being caught again by Takahashi. And will Karan in fact going a bit slowly there, coming out of what's raining into turn number 10. Surely he's not running low on fuel, not right at the end. As he heads into the final corner, he's going to have 1 more lap to go as our race leader has already made his way out towards turn number 3, and with Dibble leading right now in a relative state of comfort and backing off to a degree. Is Grant having to back it off, or is there a problem with the car? Has he noticed something as he heads down the hill? Francois Schink's into the pit lane, so Schink right now comes on in. He's going to, I believe, well, he won't release P6 overall to James Logston, assuming that it's going to be a quick stop for Schink in terms of just putting some fuel in the car, maybe a splash and dash. But definitely there could be some more late drama here. As meanwhile, speaking of late drama, Fernando Takahashi, where on earth has he gone? We just completely lost it. He got straight on now under braking into the barrier at turn number 3, and that is released Justin Bragan back up into P2. And right now, Justin Bragan, I don't think he's going to be able to believe his luck here. In fact, he's been given back P2 in the AM class right at the finish. But as he makes his way into turn number 5, one driver who's done and dusted turn 5 and heads into turn number 10. Well, what can we say other than it has been an absolutely flawless Race of Champions campaign? The winner at Watkins Glen, second place at Rudskogen, and as he comes out the final corner, the checkered flag will wait him one last time this year. Tanner Dibble is your winner in the overall and the pro classifications here, and your pro champion of champions of 2022, ahead of Jordan Butler here, who crosses the line P2 overall and in the pro class, and a great run from Jordan Butler. Butler, and then it will be Samuel Cran here when everything was looking as though it was at risk and on edge coming into the final lap. He will survive the test of the Cadillacs in California, and he will make it the AM win here, P3 overall, as he crosses the line for Team Bear Pope ahead of Justin Bragan, who brings on home P2 in class, P4 overall, and he is your AM champion, as we're to understand as he crosses the line ahead of Francois Schenk, who comes on home P5 in the end, with Takahashi going quite slow as he returns to the circuit, and Schenk passing Takahashi right at the finish there. Well, Francois Schenk will come in to complete the pro podium and will be the top 5 overall as he crosses the timeline, and it'll be Fernando Takahashi who creeps the line with damage to the car, so that explains it why he's going so slowly as he comes on through. James Loxton will jump ahead of him literally just before the timeline to take P6, and then Fernando Takahashi will come on home under very gentle amount of momentum here to take P3 in the AM class, P7 overall, with Mark Senegal having already completed his race, P8 a lap down. But what a race, ladies and gents, but definitely a dramatic one, definitely a very challenging combination, but in the end, the man who mastered it the most, Tanner Dibble, and well, the in and out DNA Motorsports privateer, not putting a single foot wrong over the entirety of this evening compared to his peers. Flawless from start to finish. Wasn't on pole, but to be fair, he got the job done when he needs to get it done, and that's why he is your pro champion of champions for 2022 in the middle of the pack racing league as he comes to the line. What a fantastic racing between our drivers, ladies and gentlemen, and let's bring you those race results. Of course, these race results are provisional, subject to stewards' inquiries, and in fact, we have just had word in that all the stewards' inquiries have been completed for this round. No incidents were reported, so these results will be final. And we're in round at number 3 of the Race of Champions for 2022, as hosted on iRacing by the Middle of the Pack Racing League. Tanner Dibble taking the win in the end by 7.3 seconds over Jordan Butler. The DNA Motorsports pair bringing it home a 1-2. Absolutely brilliant for the team, with Samuel Cran taking the 3rd spot on the overall podium and the AM win for Team Bear Pope there. Ahead of Justin Bragan in P4, your AM Championship winner ahead of Francois Schenk P5, James Logston P6, Fernando Takahashi at P7, and then Mark Senegal, the last of our finishers, a lap down in P8, with the earlier retirements of John Lauzon and Jesse Jameson Jr., and unfortunately not able to make it to the grid due to technical issues, Jerome Bajulas and Lee Porter. But as we come onto the individual class classifications, then we can see here confirmation of the pro classification, whereby Tanner Dibble taking the win ahead of Jordan Butler and Francois Schenk. They are your pro podium. And then James Logston P4 ahead of John Lauzon, who retired early on in, well, not retired early on in the race, my apologies, I'll wash my mouth out with soap with regards to that, retiring towards the end of the race, we should say, and Jerome Bajulas there, not able to make it to the grid. Meanwhile, in the AM class, we can see your winner, Samuel Cran, by 5.8 seconds over Justin Bragan, ahead of Fernando Takahashi, and then Mark Senegal behind the podium finishes in P4, a lap down, with Jesse Jameson Jr. retiring around the midpoint of the race, and Lee Porter not able to take to the grid due to technical issues with the car. But that's how they finished, ladies and gentlemen, in the race, and now it's time for the championship final standings. Well, of course, we start off with the pro standings at the end of the season, and we can see here that with his win tonight, and also, I believe, setting it was the pole lap, but not the fastest lap in the race, Tanner Dibble taking 145 points home to be crowned your pro Race of Champions 2022 championship winner by a margin of 11 points over Francois Schenk. In the end, it came down to the battle of the Cadillacs, and Dibble was able to master the combination. To be fair to Francois Schenk, showing moments of brilliance over the course of tonight, but just not quite able to settle into the car as much as Dibble was able to, and in the end, that was the difference between the two of them. James Logston in the end finished ahead of Jordan Butler in P3 based on result count back. Jordan Butler, they're just missing out and were pushing hard all the way to the finish for the win in order to make sure he finished P3, but it wasn't to be. And then John Lauzon at P5 ahead of Jerome Bajulas, Edwin Offred and Matthew Shepka there of all of our drivers with points. And then Joel Wilding listed there, not accruing any points over the Race of Champions, but still we appreciate him being along for the ride, along with all the drivers who took part. As we then come on to the AM standings, and we can see here Justin Bragan bringing home the AM Championship win for the Race of Champions 2022, as ahead of Fernando Takahashi by 14 points. The difference between the two of them in the end coming down to Justin Bragan just being one step ahead of the field from round to round, picking up the win, of course, in what was the racing at the Watkins Glen circuit in round number 1, second place at Rudskogen, and then, of course, today, second place here at Laguna Seca, but always behind different winners, and it was the consistency of Bragan which has given him the win. Fernando Takahashi coming home P2, 4 points clear of Mark Senegal, and Takahashi, with the difficulties from today, he would have been hoping it would have gone a different way and he'd been able to bring home the win, but still runner-up, and he'll be pleased with that. Mark Senegal P3, happy, I think, with that performance ahead of Samuel Cran in P4, Lee Porter P5, and then Adrian Fedorowski and Jesse Jamison Jr. completing the AM standings. And also a mention there to Auguste Blondel and Albert Brand, whilst they are able to participate in this season, not able to accrue any points over the 3 rounds. So to give you a quick recap then, ladies and gentlemen, of our championship winners, congratulations in the Pro class to the number 69 driver of Tanner Dibble, and in the AM class to the 271 driver of Justin Bragan. Of course, they have won no prize in terms of monetary value, but they have won the ultimate prize of them all, which is the bragging rights to say that they are the champion of champions in the Middle of the Pack Racing League for 2022. And of course, they'll need to defend those bragging rights come the end of next year in 2023. And with that, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and if you do want to know more about the Middle of the Pack Racing League community, the MPRL, then why not check out our official Discord invite link available on screen there. If you go there, you can, of course, get in touch with the organisers, the drivers, and everybody in the community in order to find out about what's upcoming and also get yourself set up and registered for what lies in wait. And also, don't forget, we also have an official Twitter, that is twitter.com/MOP Racing, and then you can keep up to date with the escapades of the MOP Racing team and also the upcoming series and any highlights we've got to offer. But in terms of what lies ahead then, of course, because this is the curtain being brought down on 2022. And it is sad for me to say, of course, but the racing does have to end in this year at some point. We're always getting very close to Christmas Day, but we've still got much more to come in 2023 for. We will be back in 2023 with the Cruising USA GR86 Championship. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, with the Toyota GR86 race car arriving in iRacing as the most recent update, the Season 1 update for the 2023 season. It is the GR86 which has taken to the centre stage with regards to the racing, and we would invite you and everybody to go racing in it as part of the Cruising USA Championship. Sign-ups are currently open, and the series will be starting on Wednesday, the 11th of January 2023, with 12 rounds running over 14 weeks in 4-round blocks. So we'll have 4 rounds on back-to-back weeks, and then a week's break, and then another 4 rounds, a week's break, and then the final 4 rounds. Indeed, if you're interested, then be sure to head to our official Discord or our Twitter to find out more. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, it is goodbye from us all at the Middle of the Pack Racing League. Until 2023, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you for being with us all the way through this fantastic year of racing. Whether it's TCRs, GT4s or GT3s, we've appreciated it, and we are sure and grateful for all your appreciation of the racing. We hope you have enjoyed it all the way through. But for now, we bring the curtain down, and it's time for us to say thank you very much for watching. We have been the MPRL. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Brit and a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, have a Merry Christmas, ladies and gentlemen. I wish you all the best of health as we head into the festive season. Remember to keep on smiling, stay safe, stay warm, stay happy, but most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.